Okay, so tonight's event, for those who don't know, it feels a little serendipitous for us. It is the result of people connecting at exactly the right place and the right time. And we were very excited when Kristen reached out to us about letting her dad share his story of the Kearsarge House. And we knew instantly that it was worth turning into a program and opening it up to all of you. So let me introduce your guide for the evening, Mr. Monty Bohannon. Monty is the Director of Communications and Community Engagement for the City of Portsmouth, where he handles daily and strategic communications for the city. He also has over 2 decades of experience in nonprofit and event management from a 22-year career at the Music Hall in Portsmouth. For the last 10 years, he was the Director of Marketing and Communications, overseeing daily operations of events, institutional marketing, as well as PR. A community champion, connector, and collaborator, Monty served or serves on several boards, including N 68 Hours of Hunger, the Portsmouth Halloween Parade, and New Hampshire Public Radio. He has organized events like the annual Fill the Hall food drive, which collects tons of food for Gather, our local food pantry, by filling all 900 seats in the Music Hall's historic theater. He enjoys lots of outdoor activities, including hiking, running, biking, and kayaking, and he lives with his wife and 2 children in southern coastal Maine. So Monty, take it away.
Well, welcome. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. It is my honor to be able to uh, conduct this interview with Dr. Bill Stuart. I have to tell you, uh, working at the music hall, there is so much of the history of this venue that I didn't know about, and I'm sure a lot of us may not know the full history. So I'm as excited to learn about it as well. I'd always heard tell that there was a venue there, and I'd seen a few pictures, and of course music hall had its offices in the Kearsarge for a while, but I didn't know the full story that we're gonna get tonight. So I'm really excited that I get to be part of sharing that. And I wanna take my turn at an introduction and introduce Dr. Bill. Dr. Bill Stuart was educated at Brown University, Lehigh University, and the University of Maryland School of Medicine. Dr. Bill has served communities in New England for the past 50 years as both an emergency medicine doctor and an expert witness. He's a man of many talents. He's also an NCAA Division I wrestling champion, and a real estate investor. His time owning the Kearsarge House and his contributions to Portsmouth's architectural and musical history contain some of his proudest moments. He's honored to share his story of the Kearsarge House with the Portsmouth Library community. So we're gonna, how tonight's gonna work is we're gonna have a little bit of presentation. We're gonna have a little conversation between Dr. Bill and Kristen Valdez, his daughter, and I, and then we'll open it up for some questions and stories. But without further ado, I am going to introduce Dr. Bill. So welcome.
It's you, Daddy.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. It's an honor and pleasure being here this evening. And it brings back old memories, and the memories are all good.
Excellent. So we're gonna I'll start with the slideshow. It can kind of be our guide for the evening. So bear with me as we get this up and running.
Yeah, and crediting my daughter for her intensive research in uncovering a lot of unknown facts regarding putting the slideshow together. She was enormously helpful, and dug up new stuff that I was even unaware of. So she's been an absolute treasure in putting this together.
Well,
Thanks,
this
Dad.
is yeah, this is fantastic. I mean, this is a fairly recent photo of you here because I can see the LaBelle Winery sign. But yeah, just to orient people in case they're unaware, the Kearsarge House, it's on Chestnut Street. On Congress and Chestnut, and is currently the home. Runner's Alley is on one side, and the music hall members club is on the other side of the first floor. And there's offices up above. But tell us a little bit about sort of how you came to own the Kearsarge House.
It was initially I was looking for a place either in Newburyport or Portsmouth to start a blues club, as there wasn't one there, and I've always been interested in blues music, and was interested in starting a club. So I looked around for a potential building, and that I could do that in, and the Kearsarge House was one potential. It was on the list of buildings to be demoed. So they were absolutely going to knock down the space occupied by the Kearsarge House, and they were going to turn it into a parking lot.
Wow.
I didn't want that to happen. So the only choices I had wound up with me buying the Kearsarge House from Bucky. And this is myself, and that's my attorney, John Marr, who acted on my behalf when I purchased the Kearsarge House for $50,000.
1976, right?
Yes, in September of '76, and I was trying other means, but really the only way I could stop them from demolition on the Kearsarge House was to buy the building, which I did, and then we moved forward with demolition of the building, which involved
No, renovation.
yeah, but it was interior demolition.
Oh,
There'll
okay.
be pictures of that,
Okay.
but the demolition was an interior one, and everything was taken out that was there.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Yeah. So here's some pictures of what you bought it at, what it looked like when you bought it, right? Here's the 1950s cafe tables, the drop ceiling, the old bar, right?
Yeah,
So
that was the way it looked when I purchased it, which obviously is not ready for business.
right.
Actually, can I?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Can I share that I took a lift ride like a couple weeks ago and was promoting this event. So the lift ride driver was a native Portsmouth guy, and I said, "Oh, maybe you'd be interested in this event." And I said, my dad owned the Kearsarge. Told him a little bit about it, and the guy said, "Oh yeah, there used to be a really seedy diner in that place." So,
Nice.
so his memory was this.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the old diner menu from when it was a hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, the prices are nice.
Right.
The food might have been marginal.
Yeah, I especially love, they didn't want to, reprint the whole menu. So when the prices changed on a couple of items, they just X'd them out and put the new price in the margin. I think that's it's a real sign of class, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so here's the beginning of that renovation. And what we're looking at on the left, you're standing on Chestnut Street looking down toward the Friendly Toast and everything, and the white doors are kind of where the side entrance, the awning there is now. So you're about midway up Chestnut Street looking down to the Kearsarge. And yeah, so tell us a little bit about the renovation and what you found when you opened up that old building.
Uh, it was pretty interesting. I mean, we started demoing it. There should be a picture in the inside of the demo, but
Yeah.
that's the doctor on the jackhammer. I haven't done that for a while.
And tell me you were a surgeon as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This was with surgical precision, and you can see that the demolition was extensive. I mean, we didn't leave anything on the inside. It was, and that's a jackhammer splitting away rocks, and it was a extensive interior demolition. And as we got onward with the demolition, the building inspector came in and said, "Whoa, this stops right now. There is way too many danger signals here." And he showed us where the walls that were supporting, where they had scooped out the building, the supporting walls that they put up were curved inward by the brace that was put up. So these walls were looking like they were going to collapse. And the building inspector, rightfully so, said, no, you need steel I-beam support on either side of this, or you can't continue the project. So that put us back probably, 120, 30, 40, 50,000 bucks. But we had to pour columns that were filled with concrete and jack the building up and put the building, jack it up 3 or 4 inches, because that's what it had fallen, and give it additional support so that the building wouldn't collapse. And the building inspector was absolutely correct. He wasn't making any mistakes.
Right.
But so we did that.
And you can. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Kristen.
I was just going to say, like, Dad, you told me one time also that the reason was part of the reason that those walls were not actually proper support walls is because the staircase
That
was not original, right? So they had taken out. What's that?
They had it was the cause of a lot of it was they put in a center staircase, which was second generation, not first generation, and they scooped out the middle of the building and put brick walls up to support on either side, where they had scooped out this area so that they could have a center staircase.
Like that very grand, beautiful staircase.
Yeah, like
So the walls that you were describing were these brick walls that were like bowing because they weren't strong enough.
The brick walls that supported the area that got taken out were, turning into toast.
I remember walking up and down those stairs and how much give, even in the 90s and the 2000s, how much give those stairs had and how much they bounced. So yeah, I can only imagine without that structural steel, which you can see in that picture on the right of your screen. That's in Runner's Alley. You can see that structural steel.
Yeah, that structural steel is still there. Without it, the building potentially is, toast, is going to get crushed.
Yeah, be a lot shorter.
So the I-beam went from one end to the other, and it's still there. I mean, the I-beam is still supporting the building, and without it, it could have been a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're getting more renovations and
more renovations, and a
Favorite parts.
a floor put in by Sam Bedjaliska, who was a Lithuanian carpenter, and he he put this floor is put in green wood, cut off the tree, put down, and the way he secured it was with bongs, and you can see the little holes there. That's all done in screws, and then on top with little pegs that glued on top of the screws, but it was laid green, which is not a common way of putting down a floor,
Yeah.
but laid green and bonged and secured,
Like bent.
and bent in a curve because it was still green, and then put in with the screws and stuff. So it was held into place that way. And this is the way they laid floors on ships, because he was a shipbuilder.
And you and Dad was you told me once that your inspiration that you wanted a ship's floor in the bar because the Kearsarge is named after a ship.
Yes.
It's named after the USS Kearsarge. That's the whole. That was the first time the name was used, was after a ship. So you had that inspiration, right, to have a ship's floor in there, which is still there in Runner's Alley.
Yes, it is.
It's so cool.
Yeah, and
That's
people
so
ask
cool. I
about
love
it all the time, like what happened with where, and the Runner's Alley people are. When Dad and I went in there and saw the floor recently, and we said, "Oh, Dad, my dad used to own this building." They were like, "Really? What's the story of this
we
floor?"
got
Like
cornered.
everybody wants to know the story of the floor. So
That's
that's
so funny.
what it is.
But yeah, but I've never seen. I mean, I've been in a lot of jobs, and I've never seen a floor put in with green wood and bonged and screwed right from the get-go, and then the caulk put in at the same time, and it's still there, and it's not going anywhere, and it's a beautiful floor.
Yeah. Yeah. So some of the exterior changes you made, they had you can see on the left, they had sort of squared up the front for that 1950s diner. And you restored the bow windows there that are there now. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was that was an interesting project, because I had to take this side of the building and create another side that looked like this, because this thing was square. I wish I had that picture. I don't, but it was squared off in a 50s diner front piece. And
But you can kind of see in this 1948 picture that we found, you can sort of see that glass, that in the 1948 picture, the first window is that squared front.
That's correct.
And you can see it squared, and it's got like this wood sort of trim. It's not a great picture, but you can see it.
It kind of reminds me. It kind of reminds me of like the front of the like Celtic Crossing, or that the rest of that block, that kind of retailed squared off.
Yeah. It's crazy, honestly, to think about it, that people saw this double bow front and thought, "Oh no, we can improve upon that. Let's destroy that, and let's destroy that and put in a square, window that is from a totally different time period. That'll be good." Like, it's pretty crazy. So it's great that Dad restored it, because that is what also made it was part of contributing to this historic downtown of Portsmouth, was that Dad historically accurately restored that second bow front.
Yeah, without my intervention, that building was scheduled to be totaled and turned into a parking lot. And once they went that far, I didn't have enough money to finish the whole project. That thankfully is finished the way I would have done it. I mean, I was gonna put restaurant stuff upstairs and keep the downstairs, but you know, I did get the bow front in, which I figured nobody would turn it back to the ugly. After the reasonable and appropriate finish was put on it.
You were kind of like, yes, restoration, like historic restoration complete.
And
Right.
and I wish I remembered Linda's last name, but she did such a beautiful job on the Kearsarge House sign that it's hung. It's, you know, was done in the 70s, and it still looks beautiful. And
Yeah.
you know, and how did she get that finish off, done in the finish on there, done in the 70s? No chips, no nothing. It still looks perfect. You know, what a
Yeah.
It really
what a
does.
nice job she did.
So the sign maker, her name was Linda, as you recall.
Linda, and I can't remember,
can't remember.
I can't remember her last name.
That could be like a question in the chat. Does
Right.
anybody know Linda, the sign maker, who made the Kearsarge House sign from the 70s? Because so you're saying you commissioned that sign from this woman,
I
Linda.
commissioned that sign, and she did an absolutely beautiful job.
Yeah,
And I'd love to,
and it's still hanging.
it's still hanging. I'd love to credit her with their last name, but I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, maybe some people on the call will remember.
Yeah.
So now we get to the finishes of what it looked like when you ran the place, and you can kind of see, you know, what an upgrade, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Right. So on the left, you've got the club, right? And then where's that in the building? Where's that balcony in the center picture? Is that
Oh,
on the?
yeah, I think it's over on this. It's
No,
over.
no, I know where it is. That is that balcony. What is now the members lounge in the
Yeah.
for the music hall.
Yeah.
It's on that side. So
Okay.
It's on the staircase side.
yeah. Mhm,
Yeah.
On
Okay.
the staircase side, and you can look out over that balcony.
mhm.
I
It
see.
was funny. I was getting financing down here. I was discussing with a really stiff money giver, Annabelle Donnelly. Thank you, Annabelle. You've okayed it anyway. But Kristen and her friends were up here.
On the balcony.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they were, you know, the guy. I'm not a strict parent, so they decided it was a great opportunity to have a food fight while they were up there, and I'm attempting to get financing down here, and a piece of roast beef sandwich comes flying over, and you know, by Annabelle Donnelly's ear, and I'm going, oh my God, this is not going to work out well.
Sorry, Dad.
But you got the financing.
Oh yeah,
She
yeah,
let
got
you
that.
have it anyway.
Yeah, and but why? I think that the honesty, you know, took her back a step, because she goes, "What is that?" I said, "Oh, that's my daughter having a food fight upstairs." I said, "You know, I'm sorry for the inconvenience."
I also
that's
think it's kind of amazing that, you know, Dad laid this beautiful, is that a flagstone floor, Dad? Or is that what that is? Or is that a,
Yeah, no, it was green flagstone.
so there's a, that's on the
I'm-
that's on the members lounge. You can,
Yeah.
that's on the members lounge side that is now carpeted, but there's a beautiful green flagstone floor under
Oh.
there. I mean, maybe it's not right for a lounge. You don't want a green
Right.
flagstone floor for a lounge, but it is a nice floor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super. I'm trying to think if I ever saw that, if it had ever been uncovered. But I don't think I have, but that's pretty
And
incredible.
Katie had said yesterday that someone sent a comment when they were registering for this event. Oh, the Kearsarge House had the best deli, great music, and the most amazing chandeliers. And that's the chandeliers,
Yeah.
the cafe. Do you
Oh
remember?
yeah.
I can't remember where I got them,
Yeah.
because I don't. They sure didn't come to the place.
Yeah. Oh no. Okay. Anyways.
Yeah,
that-
some more finishes here. So you've got the parquet, the inlay on the entryway.
Yeah,
Um,
which also is covered over by a rug right now, but that,
Yep.
it's there. I mean, well, who knows? You would think it would be there.
And here's the phone booth that was relatively infamous because
Oh,
there was some notable sexual exchanges in the phone the phone booth.
oh boy.
So it became a stomping ground, more or less.
Yeah.
on the second floor, there's like an
Yeah.
antique phone booth.
Yeah, that people were getting it on. And,
Okay, Dad.
yeah. And yeah, what are you gonna do? It's already started. You let them finish.
Was there a phone that worked in there?
The phone did work.
Oh,
Yeah, so
Okay.
it actually was a functional phone,
okay.
but I don't think it was used as much for that as it was for a stomping ground.
Good to know.
Right.
I don't think that's still there anymore.
No,
No,
no.
the phone booth got sold.
Yeah.
And this, we're looking at on the right, we're looking at the second floor, right? Just kind of
Yes.
orient.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the second floor.
And what was above the club? Was it still rental rooms and hotels, or
Well, it was pretty much flop house, in the third and fourth floor.
If I'm,
yeah.
Yeah.
it was never fully renovated. And there were times where my dad was living up there. There were times where my sister and I would come to visit him, and that's where we would stay. My sister's on the call right now. There was a room, that's Erica. There was a room where the bands who played
Oh
would
yeah.
stay. And there was some time, there was some, as kids, like my sister and I can look back on this and say it's an amazing accomplishment that my dad renovated this building and contributed to the history of Portsmouth in such a strong way. But as kids, it was kind of a little bit crazy and scary, that we'd go see my dad and it was like not really renovated, and there's musicians around, and let's just say it was a very flexible space.
Right.
The musicians loved the place because they get trashed and stoned and bang their socks off and nobody really cared. So
Yeah.
it was it was a popular place for the musicians to play.
Because they would just come and stay over, and they could
Do it.
could trash the room and nobody cared because it was already trashed.
Yeah, they
Right.
did. Well,
Exactly. That's perfect.
yeah, nobody was nobody expected them to do anything
Right.
except get drunker than they were on stage.
Right. Right. So here we got some coverage in the local daily about the opening, and so you got the deli counter, and then you had a formal dining room. So tell me about that. Like, what was the impetus to have not only the deli counter, but a dining room as well? Was that purely economics?
No,
Or like what? Go
yeah,
ahead.
not economic at all, because it was definitely a loser in terms of money. But my concept was to have cafe dining on one floor and then super ass fancy dining on the next floor, and have it be a different types of restaurants.
Like multi-tiered venue with
Yeah.
different experiences.
Yeah, yes.
You wanted to go big or go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went home very broke.
But it's fascinating. It's fascinating to see sort of this model playing out elsewhere in Portsmouth now. We've got 3S with they've got the art space, the gallery space, the restaurant, and the performance space. You've got Jimmy's that has sort of that jazz and blues and the higher end dining. And so like it's just really, it's fascinating to see how all of these things, like there were seeds of that all here, and to see sort of where all of that began, because I mean, probably a lot of people on this call, but a lot of people don't remember what Portsmouth was like in the 70s. This really starts off, I mean, along with Theater by the Sea and Buddy Hollar over at the Blue Strawberry, like this is really the beginning of the Portsmouth Renaissance, because it was, you know, back in those days, it was rough and tumble and sailors drunk in the streets and
Yeah.
prostitutes down on Bow Street, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's sorry, go ahead.
No, that's yeah. You had a bit of a vision, Dad.
Yeah, I did. I as usual, I was a bit early.
Yeah.
But I think we should also say, Dad, you are a foodie. You love food. And we should also say you open a Jewish deli because you're a Jewish guy. And that should
Right.
be stated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So you were looking like, hey, you know, this is what Portsmouth needs. We need a good deli, and we need some music.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, wasn't wrong on anything, just early and short on money.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's this idea. I mean, you had this career as a doctor, and then you decide to get into the money-making business of running a restaurant and a club.
Money losing business.
Money making, yeah. So what, I mean, other than the fact that you love blues, what was it that drove you to you know, take this on? What was the impetus for you to like
Give me a blues club with national blues acts that are common in Chicago, and book them in off of Boston clubs in Portsmouth was just too much to pass on. I had the best blues acts that Portsmouth has ever seen since I was there.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have them. They
No,
have.
now they do. But at the
Name me.
Well, Herbie Hancock played at Jimmy's. That's huge.
Oh, that's going there.
Yeah.
That's getting.
but
Getting
that was
it
only
on.
that place only recently opened. So it's when you were doing it, it did not exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And in sort of the modern time, it was the first of its era to start to bring those national acts, because sort of between, you know, the death of vaudeville and the touring acts, because downtown Portsmouth had 4 theaters. You know, Music Hall was the oldest, but it also had the Colonial and the Arcadia and the Olympia, all within a few block radius. But once the World War II happened, and vaudeville died, basically all we were left with was the Colonial, which was where Eagle Photo, where now Popovers is, and the Music Hall, and E.M. Lowe owned both of them, and he shut down the Music Hall because it was smaller, and he ran the Colonial as strictly a movie house, and so all of that live entertainment went away. And it wasn't until, you know, I mean, we're talking 76. So Prescott Park was in its 2nd season, you know, because it's celebrating its 50th now. So, and they were doing a lot more local. They were doing a lot. They were, you know, they had the show, but they were doing a lot more local acts on the stage. And so really this was, you know, putting Portsmouth back on the map for those national tours.
Yeah, he
And
did that.
yeah, and that's really that's amazing. It's amazing. And to have it like in this little club right downtown, it's just phenomenal. So I'm really excited to talk about, you know, some of the acts that you brought in, and to get some of those stories. So we'll start with Sun Seals.
How did that go? How did that go, Dad, that you got up on, that you ended up playing with Sun Seals?
Oh boy, yeah. I play harmonica, so I would always ask to play with groups, when they played, and they sort of had to say yes because I was the boss, but with Sun Seals, I asked him if I could play, so I said, oh yeah, sure, but he was very funny because everybody else would bring me up for a couple of songs and send me on my way.
Wait, don't forget to say how he started, Joe.
I was getting to that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't jump me.
Sorry.
Don't jump me. Let me not say it first.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
So, son, you know, said he introduced me, and by saying, he says, "Well," he says, "I'm going to bring the doctor up here to play the Mississippi saxophone for y'all," and he says, "Come on, get on up here, doctor." So I came up on stage, and I had my harmonicas with me, and he looked at me. He says, well, "Go ahead," meaning like, fuck you. Start. Oh shit. Like go ahead. You start it off. Show me what you got. And I was like, holy, holy, okay. So
They didn't give you a backbeat.
yeah,
Nobody
no,
gave
no.
you a key. No, just was like, just play.
Just go.
His son just looked at me. Let me hear what you got. And I
Wanted
went,
to know if you could hang. Yeah.
yeah. And I laid it out, and laid it out with a Chicago blues boogie, and he let me do it for about 30 seconds by myself, and then
Scary 30 seconds, right?
oh yeah, I mean, I thought well, I wasn't scared once I got into it, but I looked and said, "You got to be kidding me! You having me start this?" I started it off and played, and he liked it, and then he played exactly what I was playing on the guitar, and we went back and forth, for another minute.
Like a call and response.
Yeah, like I would play what I was playing, and then he would play it on the guitar. So, and then the whole band cut in. It was great. I mean, I had the best time of my life.
And did he let you play that whole how
Oh
long?
yeah, Then I started. Usually, I would sit down after a couple of songs, and I started to sit down. He goes, "Where are you going, doctor?" He says, "You're gonna sit up here and play with the rest of us." He goes, he says, "And if you do okay, I'll give you $50 a night, and you can come on tour with us."
Made you work, man. Made you work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a terrifying and amazing to be in that position with someone like him. That's awesome.
Yeah, he was very, very funny. And Luther Allison was also
Oh, we're getting there.
oh, okay.
We got Coco.
Coco
Coco.
Taylor. She was really good, and she played for me all the time. And do you remember a place? It was in I think it was called the Stage House, and it was in Boston, and they had nothing but blues. But she played for them, and I heard she was playing for them at night, so I went down to see her, just to say hi and talk old times. And I I said I said I wanted to go backstage and talk to her because that was the only way I could get to her. And she goes, the guy that was running the place, running in and out for Coco, said, "Well, Coco doesn't see anybody, doesn't see any guests, doesn't see anybody backstage." I said, "Oh, well, yeah, can you just tell her the doctor from the Kearsarge wants to talk to her?" and say hi. And he came right back out and said, "Yeah, doctor, she'll see you. You can come back." So I went back, and she goes, "Oh, doctor," she says, "how you doing? Good to see you." She says, "I'll play any song you want for you." And I said, "Oh, I like that. You can have my husband, but please don't mess with my man." I said, "I love that one." So she she played that, but it was funny because she brought her husband with her, Pops, and Pops is he's a character, but he's coughing his brains out
Oh,
back
no.
backstage, and he goes, "Doctor," he says, "Yeah," he says, "You know where I can get a joint?" I go, "Yeah, sure, I got one. You can, how many do you want?" He goes, "Oh, anything you got." I say, "Yeah, here's, I got 3 or 4 on me. You can have them." And he was very thankful, also very funny. But we sat backstage and watched Coco play. "You can have my husband, but please don't mess with my man." And Pops, who was the husband, every time he said it, he goes, "Don't be talking about me like that." He says, "I'm gonna come out there and whoop your ass if you keep talking like that about me." And he would be yelling at her while she was singing the song, and she'd come over and sing it in his face.
Oh,
Man.
fabulous.
They were good acts. Oh, Luther Allison, yes sir,
Yeah.
yes sir. Luther, every every guy that played the bar, most of them got up on top of uh, the
The bar.
the,
It was you that we should just fill in a little bit. So
Yeah, because you guys can't.
go
Sorry.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, one little piece of the story that might be missing is that, Monty, you asked Dad, why blues? And of course, Dad plays harmonica. Dad's a child of the '60s and understood that, well, earlier than the '60s, but like was a young man in the '60s and understood that the British invasion was really about blues being sold back to the white American teenagers by British white kids, but it was rooted in blues. And so he was one of those people who just became really interested in blues rather than being interested in the reselling of blues. He just went back
Yeah.
to the roots of the music. But that also, his knowledge of blues partly came from the fact that we lived outside of Chicago before we moved to Portsmouth. And so a lot of these people that Dad was booking were Chicago blues musicians who had a specific tradition of taking a guitar solo, walking on the bar. That was just a thing they did in Chicago, where if you're a great blues player, you get up on the bar, you take your guitar and you walk down the bar and you take your solo while you're up on top of the bar. So that lays the groundwork for the story that Dad's going to tell now, right?
Yeah.
Which is
The Luther Allison story.
oh yeah, Luther got up on the bar like all the rest of them did, and was walking in between the glasses. He made it about 2/3 of the way down.
He had a really long chord.
And he had, in those days, there wasn't a remote for the guitar. So, Luther had a guy that unraveled the cord as he was traveling down the bar.
A chord roadie. Like that,
You're right.
that was a real job, right?
Yeah. And he went all the way down to the end of the bar and then got off the end of the bar and went out in the middle of the street.
In the middle of Congress Street.
Right in the middle of Congress Street. And was playing the guitar in the middle of Congress Street and, stopped traffic. And he backed it all the way up to Market Square. And then he saw the cops coming. And he skidooed back up on stage, and I just stayed in the front door. And of course, the cops come down. And they go, they opened up, and I said, "Hi, how you doing?" And he goes, "I'm doing okay, but traffic was stopped in the street." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "I had no idea." I said, he goes, "Well, what's going on here that stopped traffic?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I'm watching the inside here. My job's the inside, yours is the outside, right?" and, and he goes, just mumble and jumble and pissed off. And I just held my ground. No, I mean, I didn't. I'm just out here trying to control the inside, and I think I didn't see anything happening here. And
Yeah.
And then tell everybody what Luther Allison said to you
oh
afterwards.
yeah. Luther. Yeah, he had scrambled back up on stage, and he wasn't going to talk to anybody. And
About the Albert Collins.
yeah, after he got down and the thing was over, he says, "Hey, doctor." I said, yes, Luther. What's going on? He says, Albert Collins is coming in here next, right? And these guys are very competitive, and Luther knew that maybe Albert Collins had a little bit higher rating than him, because I was broke, and I was having Blues Week to close out the place. So every good blues place, I just came up with the money, gave them the money, and had whatever great blues player I could get. And he says, "Albert Collins is coming here next, right?" I said, "Yeah, that's right, Luther, he is." He goes, "Well," he says, "I want you to tell Albert that Luther Allison stopped traffic in the street."
Oh, that's so great.
I said, "I'm going to tell him, I promise."
Right.
Oh, that's a reception.
That's Jerry Brown.
Yeah, Jerry Brown did his presidential reception at the Kearsarge House.
Like he announced his run?
Yes.
He announced his run at the Kearsarge House.
Wow.
They went broke like everybody else that was in the Kearsarge House.
That was
But
his first. He ran for president a lot of times, so that must have been his 1980 run.
Oh, I think it was. Yes, yeah.
Okay, and then these other guys, local Charlie Jennison and T.J. Wheeler, they're local musicians.
Yeah, very, very good musicians.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody knows TJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and again, this is sort of an era, a few years later, we've got, the Blues Festival at Strawberry Bank under the tent. We've got Music Hall is still 5 years away from getting back up and running. They did a short stint as a for-profit that failed, and then the nonprofit started in 87. So we're still years away from anything like this in Portsmouth.
You got it.
So to tell us a little bit about and I'm not sure what we got. Oh, tell us a little bit about what happened. I mean, like you said you said a couple of times you went broke. Was there a precipitating event that caused all of that? What happened?
No, I just the precipitating event really wasn't a precipitating event. I was broke, and I said, "Well, the hell with this! I'm going to have a blues week." So I had about 4 or 5 really great blues, Albert Collins and people like that were technically very hot blues people.
I think there's like a story that was going around town that that the pipes froze, and that's what was maybe the precipitating event. but you're sort of like, there were so many things, right?
Right.
Like the pipes froze, but it was also like you were expanding and you kind of maybe
No,
expanded too fast, or
the pipes froze is a story I can't tell.
okay, fine.
All I can say is all I can say is when the pipes froze, the bank had control of the building and were responsible for
For that.
that. But they called my lawyer and said, "Look, I know that little son of a bitch can cause a fire, but how did he cause a flood?"
Oh my goodness, Dad. That's what was told.
That's what
I
that,
mean,
Yeah.
the precipitating event is just like many events, right? That you,
Right.
it was I look
I
at it.
spent a whole lot more money than
That's
I
it.
had.
Right.
No,
There it
went-
is.
He wanted to go too big. He wanted to go big or go home, and he went too big, too fast. That's what I look at. It's
Okay.
like I'm not a business owner. I'm not a real estate investor. All I know is like as a kid, there was a lot of stuff happening there.
no, but
There was a big. It was a big thing. There was a deli. There was a cafe. There was a restaurant. There was a blues club. There was a bar. There was like construction going on, and I can only look back as an adult and
Yeah, well,
go, "Well, that must have been kind of hard to finance all that at the same
hey,
time."
at the end of the day,
Mm.
you know, when I had Blues Week, it was like, you know, I'm going to come up with the money and have Blues Week, and I know I'm spending money I don't have. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I was
Yeah.
having,
It's sort of that same old story, like, a performance venue, a club, with a restaurant, like those two businesses there, high failure rates
oh, come on.
hard to make them successful because, even if you're filling the room every night and selling food, it's so hard to operate, and especially at that size, the number of tickets you can sell and the acts that you wanted to bring in and you were bringing in. I can only imagine, the pressures of that and having to continually renovate the building or continue to renovate the building.
No, I was underwater the whole time. But
Right.
you know,
But it was great.
But
I decided to close out strong no matter what. And
right.
strong in terms of the musical acts that I had. I said, I'm having all these guys. It's going to be great. We're going to have a week of nothing but the best blues that anybody up here has ever seen. And
Yeah.
But
and that's what I did.
I think Monty too, like I think your skillful like framing of the time period and the fact that there were not actually a whole lot of people up here. I mean, the way there is now. It wasn't a tourist destination the way it is now. Winters were very rough. It wasn't like, hey, let's go out on Monday night and go out to dinner in February and hear some blues. Like it just didn't have the same kind of it wasn't as developed as it is now. So even if there were people there, weren't enough. Oh, looks like Joey Caprio has his hand raised. He wants to ask a question.
Oh, all right. Yeah. All right. Go ahead and unmute, Joey. Go ahead.
What's up, Caprio? Did you want to ask a question? No.
No.
Oh, that's a no.
Maybe not. If you do, we'll come back. We'll
Okay.
find you. But yeah, and I think that the fact that you sort of dared and you had this vision, I personally think that it would have been so much more difficult for places like the Music Hall or the Elvis Room or others that came after to sort of find traction with audiences, with you sort of whet the appetites of the people of Portsmouth for music that before then they couldn't see unless they went to Boston, unless they went. I mean, I don't even think Portland was really a happening music town back then, I mean, you were looking at, you had to go to Montreal, you got to go to Boston, you got to go to New York, you got to go to Chicago to see the kind of acts you were pulling in. And so I think,
They had mostly bubblegum stuff.
yeah, yeah. Portland, you mean?
Yeah, anywhere.
Yeah.
There wasn't.
I think what Monty said is really true. He said you whet the appetite for great music in Portsmouth by taking a risk, and showing people that it could be done. So maybe for you it was a hard thing in that it didn't maybe succeed exactly the way you wanted, but it was a huge success in terms of a contribution to the city.
It was a huge step forward. That was about 25 years ahead of its time.
25 years
Well,
yeah.
well, I think I'm gonna stop. We're at the end of the slideshow, so I'm gonna stop sharing now. And I don't know, Katie, were there any questions in the chat with sharing? I wasn't really able to see much of the chat. So if people have questions or anything, you can either pop them in the chat or raise your hand, either a real hand or a virtual hand by going to I think it's under reactions. Yeah, under reactions. You can raise your virtual hand if you have a question. Oh, Mark is asking, what's the best memory you have from the Kearsarge?
I can't tell that one.
I was gonna say, I think that might be a story. Did it involve the phone booth?
There's some great stuff in the chat. I love Jordan in the chat said, I totally remember moving in between spaces, going to the fancy dining hall from the bar and up and down the big steps and to the upstairs. So people remember
that was me. So that was me.
That's Erica. Okay, I was like, who is this old timer Jordan? Okay, that's my sister.
It's just that we're on Jordan's computer. So
okay, got it.
But that's me. That was me at like age 6, remembering all of those different spaces back when you were speaking about how he made all of those different spaces, that there was the fancy dining room and the bar and then the upstairs space. I remember how distinct they all were. And as a little kid, I remember being like, are we eating in the fancy dining room? Because we didn't really do that much. So it was like a big deal.
That's awesome.
Yeah. From my frame of reference, building preserved, mission accomplished,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's my take on it. I was just so focused on saving the building, because it's a beautiful old building. And they're going to rip that thing down, have a parking lot in the corner. I mean, yuck.
Right. Yeah, that would have been a travesty.
Well, it would have been a loss of a historic landmark.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful old building. And I don't know if there's another example like that. I mean, I know a lot about old buildings, and I've looked at a lot of old buildings. I've never seen a double bow front, and especially one that got the center scooped out, and it almost fell down and needed all the restoration stuff that we put in it to make it a viable building.
Right, and I think you said you were ahead of your time there. I think you were slightly ahead of your time with the preservation and restoration movement too. I mean, Strawberry Bank, of course, started moving houses to preserve them, and Historic District Commission was, I think, maybe a few years off still. I don't know. It was still, and Stephanie Secord, who I know is on the call, might be able to fact check me on that one, about when that was established. But certainly this idea that we needed to preserve these cultural resources and these historic architecture was not always the case. We were coming out of sort of that urban renewal. Everything old and Victorian was out. We have to demo it for new and modern. And so that idea that we had to hang on to some of that.
But new and modern being an ugly parking lot on the corner as everyone passes going out of town. is
Yeah.
like, it smells like a stale pair of Pampers.
Yeah. Oh, and Stephanie says 1965 for the HDC. So it was, it was 10 years before, but I think that, that they were still willing to demolish that building. So yeah, Nimrod 111 had their hand up. I'm not sure if that's still going or if I talked too long. So Nimrod, if you want to ask your question, go for it.
Can I just talk?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
sure you can.
Yeah, you're good.
No, hey, I just want to say how I remember going to the Kearsarge, and it always amazed me how the doctor was able to juggle so many balls in the air. He loved getting up on that stage. He was a master in the kitchen. He always pitched in at the bar, and then he'd go and work as a doctor for 12 hours. So I just want to congratulate him on all that he's done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your appreciation of my efforts.
And I do remember Luther Allison was going out to the street and stopping traffic.
Yeah.
I was there that night.
Oh, all right. Cool.
That's great.
Wow.
Anybody? Oh, John's waving goodbye, or you
No,
giving a? Oh, you got a
I-
question?
Yeah, what's up?
I'm Billy's brother, and I just remember him talking about after the Kearsarge closed down at night, about 4 a.m., they would start another situation, which was Billy was giving free drinks and food and music, and they partied till dawn in a locked space. I'm just wondering how that affected your finances, giving all that stuff away.
I think the bottom line is definitely, it was a losing proposition, but boy, did we have a good time.
We read about that. I think that's one of the things we read that you discovered, Kristen, wasn't it?
Yeah, that
the-
was a quote from T.J. Wheeler.
From
had a
TJ
journal.
Wheeler, right.
So Charlie Jennison read from T.J. Wheeler's journal in another one of these Portsmouth local history talks, and T.J. Wheeler said, the Kearsarge House was a club there's never been one before or after like it, and he described exactly what you said, Johnny, that there was local acts, there was national acts, and there was Dad just deciding to open up the deli and have everybody stay till 5 a.m.
Yeah.
and or stay upstairs and sleep over, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
For Woodstock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a, party till you drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other? We'd love to hear any other memories that anybody might have of the Kearsarge, if you have them, if you want to share them, or any other questions for my dad, if you have them.
Yeah, no matter how bad.
Just remember it being an awful lot of work. And
Yeah.
Billy was doing everything.
Yeah. Oh, somebody
see.
has their hand raised. Deirdre has her hand raised. Go for it.
Hi, everybody. Well, I moved to this area. Well, I started coming to the area in 1975 and then moved in 79. So I just on the cusp of this, but kind of ignorant to, you saw the changes, but you didn't know really what was happening. And I just really want to thank you. I cannot imagine Portsmouth without the Kearsarge House. I love this old architecture. I remember Eagle Photo. I remember the parking lot. Both are gone. And next to Bennett's Sandwich, there was another parking lot. You can only imagine what building might have been there. And, sort of this sort of tension between some of the construction that's going on that doesn't honor the old design style, and then some that does. But again, I just can't imagine Portsmouth without that building. So whether you knew the future vision or not, I'm I'm sure many are very grateful.
Thank you.
It's so nice, Deirdre. Thank you so much.
Um, Elisa has a question. Bill, what did these world-class blues acts charge back then? What was sort of the top artist fee that you were looking at?
I would usually pay approximately, 5-piece band, $125 a night.
For the whole band?
Yes.
Wow.
And they could sleep upstairs and eat as much as they wanted at the deli, and had free run of the place.
Not 125 per person?
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 125 a night.
But they got free food and they got to stay in the upstairs.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't an expensive, and they loved the upstairs.
Oh,
Yeah, they just got trashed, and they loved playing there.
Yeah.
They always came back. I didn't have one group that didn't want to come back.
right. Well,
Great. And Jane asked, could you give us some background on the beautiful bar that was on the first floor?
Oh, that's a Sam Bedrolitsa, the Lithuanian carpenter who did the floor and then matched the curve on the bar. It was a beautiful bar.
but Jane, were you also referring to that picture where you could see the other things that were done in the bar, like the wood paneling? And did you want to know more about than just the floor? Because there was a picture in that slideshow that had more.
That had the
like the whole, like you
Yeah.
did like wood paneling across the whole bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We never even went through all the panels that you had punched up.
No, we did.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see. What else? Oh, right. Any other questions, anybody?
I have a question. Bill,
Okay.
how did you find all of the artisans you worked with who did the floor and the bar and the chandeliers and the sign? It seems like you just were able to collect all these people together to make one beautiful building.
Yeah, that's something I've done with a lot of different stuff, is integrate beautiful things and make them fit together.
Do you think Honey had anything to do with it? Like Dad's girlfriend at the time was a very talented artist.
Yeah, she worked with
And
me.
she was part of, she made the crown moldings, is that what it's called, around the light fixtures? Like she made hand moldings for that. She knew how to do
Wow.
that. So I think her name was Hannah-Laurie Duncan Beer, and I think she was tapped in to the artisan community because she was an artisan. That would be my help. Probably accurate, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, she was
Yeah.
a significant contributor.
She really was a significant
Yeah.
contributor. So, and to many of the things that you're talking about, like the look, all of these things that made it look really beautiful, she contributed a lot to that. So her name is Hannah-Laurie Duncan Beer, but we don't know where she is now. They broke up, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But credit where credit is due.
right?
Yeah,
She was German.
she was German. She might be back in Germany. Yeah.
I saw her in Germany at one point. I
You
forget.
did?
Yeah, I forget how long ago. It was ancient
Wow.
history, though.
Wow. Yeah. So I think she was tapped. There was a network of artisans and she was tapped into it,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see Deirdre's got her hand up again. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. While we were presenting, I reached out to a friend of mine who was a sign carver, seeing if I could get the name for you. Didn't get the whole name. I'll work on it, but he says he believes the woman was from Ogunquit. She carved the Perkin Cove entrance sign and the Sands Motel sign, and he gave me a name of somebody you might know. So if I find out, I'll let Monty know, because I know I can reach him or the library, and we'll get that name for you.
We'll figure it out. Ah, look at that. Investigation.
Wow.
Deployed citizens journalists. That's great. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions or anecdotes? Oh, Mark is asking who's the best electrician you've ever worked with. I have a feeling that Mark might be that electrician.
Mark, show your face.
Now,
Where's Mark? Mark, reveal yourself.
yeah, if you want a great electrician, Mark's your man. I endorse him 110%.
That's great.
My endorsements are not easy to come by.
Well, I mean, it's just a testament to your vision, your drive to make this happen, all of the stuff that you went through, the renovations, the insertion of structural steel, the finish bits to make it so beautiful and hang so together, and the quality of the curatorial eye and ear that you had to bring this to Portsmouth. It's definitely left an indelible mark, and it's one of those things that I was talking with cousin Richard and Bruce Pingree, and I don't know if they're on the call tonight, but they both said to me, "Man, that place does not get the recognition that it deserves, and the doctor doesn't get the recognition for what he did and what he was able to bring to Portsmouth." So I'm glad we're able to shine a little spotlight on you tonight and your contributions to this town and the cultural fabric of everything that came after. And it's really wonderful, and I'm so honored to have been part of it here tonight. So thank you. From me, I just want to say thanks, because I wouldn't have had a career at the music hall without you sort of trailblazing here, and a lot of what we now take for granted in Portsmouth, as far as its arts and culture, that we punch well above our weight here for a small city on the New Hampshire seacoast with 22,000 people. We have more venues and arts and culture than places that are 5 times our size. And your role in starting that avalanche and that embarrassment of riches that we have now cannot be overstated. So thank you. I see Elisa's got another question. Kristen, how did growing up in this culturally rich music atmosphere influence your own trajectory in music? And did it influence your sister in similar ways too?
Okay, wait, before we do that, you were just about to say thank you to Monty, right?
I was.
Go for
I'm
it.
sorry.
Yeah, just thank you so much for the appreciation. It's there's nothing better than being appreciated.
Yeah, and I want to appreciate everybody for coming, and also Monty for you recognizing, and Katie for you recognizing that my dad's contributions musically and architecturally to the history of Portsmouth were actually very significant, and for framing this in such a wonderful way. And the little Elisa's question, Elisa and I know each other through my work in graduate school at NYU at the Graduate Musical Theater Writing Program. So she knows that I write music, and she herself is a wonderful composer. And I will just say that for myself, growing up in New England and having my dad have a club where there were Black musicians playing, that's a real gift, and that combined with the fact that my aunt and uncle, who are here on the call, Jonathan and Elena, lived in New York. Although we grew up in a teeny little town in New England close to here, my sister and I, we grew up in Newbury, Massachusetts. we were exposed to quite a bit of cultural diversity through the Kearsarge and also through visiting my aunt and uncle on the Upper West Side of New York, which at that time was also different than it is now. Really diverse place. So very thankful for that exposure to different cultures, different musical environments, different ways of thinking, different ways of living. And that's definitely influenced me for sure. I don't know, Erica, if you want to speak to that at all, because the question was directed to both of us.
You're muted, Erica.
Yeah, I mean, I would just second you. I think we were very lucky both in exposure via what our dad did and also the era in the 70s, even in Newburyport, there were things that we were exposed to as kids that were really special. You know, it was an interesting time. But sorry, that's my dog barking for the pocket of New England. And yeah, so I'm thankful. I think you said it really well, Kristen. Thanks.
Thanks for the question, Lisa.
And I see Nimrod got your hand up again.
Yes, I just wanted to say that the reason Doc was ahead of his time back then, and Portsmouth was a very conservative town. So when they saw him, they didn't know what to make of him.
Got that. You got that right.
And I've
That's
enjoyed this
excellent.
very much. Thank you all. And
Thank
thank
you,
you,
sir.
Doctor.
Thank you, right back at you. It was great being involved.
Richard's got his hand up.
Where's Richard?
I was wondering if there will be a book in the future, early images books, because it's important history that should be recorded and should be read by more than just this group.
This is when you talk about what you wanted to do with your folders.
Kristen,
Yeah.
I hear you being called.
Oh,
Book writing.
my sister's saying
Book writing, sister.
yes, my sister's okay. We'll talk about that. Yes, I hear you. But Dad had said to me that he wanted to donate. Richard, my dad had said to me that he wanted to donate all of the files that I used to make the slideshow to the library. That's what he had said to me. So it's not a book exactly, but he does want to. You want to do that?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So that was something that he had said he wanted to do, was to donate. We have this big stack of photos and all of that. But a book is a whole nother thing. I mean, we could think about it.
So with this information, maybe
Can tell all those
Robertson.
Yeah, you can tell all your stories in your book, Dad.
Right.
Maybe Robertson would be willing to write a book or something like that.
Yeah.
Trying to put that on paper.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Richard. I don't know who's Robertson.
J. Dennis Robinson. He's
Yeah.
a local historian. He's
Cool.
he's written the book on the Isles of Shoals, Strawberry Bank Museum, Music Hall. So he's got a lot of history.
Let's talk.
And also I'm a proprietor of the Portsmouth Athenaeum.
Yeah.
They'd be most interested in that history, and trying to remember his name that helps publish a lot of the books that Robertson writes.
Fourth floor of the Kearsarge.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We'll look into that, Richard. Thank you for that tip.
Yeah, talk to Tom Hardiman.
Okay.
He's the keeper at the Portsmouth Athenaeum, and
Okay.
maybe he could turn one of the historians on to write a beautiful book about this.
Thank you, Richard.
That's great. Thank you,
wonderful.
Richard.
Thank you for that tip. It looks like Elizabeth has her hand raised.
Yes, I was just gonna join the chorus of people saying, first of all, thank you so much. What an amazing thing you did. And I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to learn a little bit. I had no idea, and it's very important that people know, especially I feel like now with the city changing so rapidly, I often feel like the archaeological layers of the city are getting crushed under all of this new enterprise, and I don't want it to get lost. I really don't want it to get lost. We need those layers, and we need them to be as available as if they were still present among us. So, so my thought was that, you know, a book might sound like a daunting idea, but there are so many ways to make it an easier project, you know, being interviewed and just recording the interviews and then having someone else go through and do the work of editing and then checking the edits, or taking the photographs and using each photograph to tell a story and recording the oral relation of the story and just having someone go through it. You don't have to necessarily be organized about it. You can let someone else make and shape something out of a simpler, more informational process such as this. But, you know, um, I guess I'll just repeat myself if I continue, but those are my thoughts.
Thank you so much. That's so nice.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
It's so heartwarming to hear people feeling connected to the story and feeling appreciative of what my dad did, which to be very honest, this all came about honestly just 1 month ago, where I walked into the Kearsarge House, having not been there for many, many years. I was greeted by Mark Pruitt, who works at the music hall because there was an event there, and he said, "Oh, may I help you?" And I just very innocently said, "Oh, I'm just kind of taking a walk down memory lane." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, my dad owned the building." And he said, "Oh, really?" And I said, "Yeah, it used to be a jazz club, blues club." And he was like, "It did? You're kidding me." And then he said, "You need to talk to the historian at the music hall." And I was like, "Okay." And so then I talked to Zana Morris, who's the historian at the music hall, and she was like, "You need to talk to Katie at the library, or somebody at the Athenaeum." She was throwing out ideas. I think what I want to say in thanks to everyone here is, I'm not religious, but God bless New England. Like, you guys care about history. Everybody
Right.
cares about history. Everybody cares about what happened and doesn't want it to be lost. And my sister and I grew up partially in New England. I don't consider myself a New Englander because, like, my dad and my mom are both from Philly. But, like, Erica, you do consider yourself New Englander, right? Because Erica's a little younger than me, so she lived here in New England from like a very young age. So just God bless New England. People care about history. People care about this building. People care about what happened. People don't want it to get lost. People want to tell stories. People want to listen to stories. People want to reflect, you know, history. People want to witness one another. Like, you guys are so wonderful. It's so wonderful, honestly, that I called Katie randomly, and I called Katie. She picked up the phone. I live in Brooklyn. Nobody picks up the phone if you call them in New York, okay, and say, "Hey, do you want to do an event?" That does not happen. Katie picked up the phone and was like, "Hi." And I was like, "Hi, my dad used to own the Kearsarge." She was like, "Really?" People care. That's it. People love that building so much that there was that much resonance. And then Katie literally, I think, Katie, we talked for maybe 7 minutes, and you were like, "Okay, when do you want a date for this?" It was that easy because you all are that receptive, and because New Englanders really care about heritage. So,
Yeah.
and sharing stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for this gift. And I'm gonna, speaking of Katie, I'm gonna kick it over to her to take us out.
We are at 7:30, so we do have to end the program, but Kristen, thank you so much for calling. It was a great call to receive, and working with you and with Monty and with Dr. Bill for the past few weeks has been really wonderful and really fun to get to know more about the Kearsarge and get to know about you. So thank you all for joining us for this wonderful local history talk, and please come to our next one, which is next month with Rick Kafori of the Boston and Maine Railroad Historical Society. Thank you all. Thanks, Monty. Thanks, Kristen. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you
Have a
very
great
much.
night, everyone. And the
Great night.
recording will be up on YouTube hopefully next week. So share it with
Yay.
everyone you know.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye.